Barbados is one of the smallest islands in the Caribbean and has made significant strides in raising awareness for endometriosis.
This year, the Barbados Association of Endometriosis and PCOS will be celebrating Endometriosis Awareness Month under the theme Endometriosis is more than just a reproductive health issue.
Over the years, we've reached out to communities and have become a safe haven for females of all ages. We take care of our own, be it emotionally, financially, or physically.
I believe by having this month, it will allow us to advocate and educate persons about these very chronic conditions that women face on a monthly and sometimes daily basis.
And I just hope that, as time goes on, things get better for us. And, there's a worldwide understanding that, women go through these things and we need to be supported.
I look forward to celebrating with all of the Endo warriors worldwide as we continue to raise our collective voice and push for meaningful, positive change as it pertains to best ways to diagnose, best ways to manage, best ways to treat, and eventually a cure for endometriosis. Hello everyone, my name is Julia Mandeville. I am one of the co-founders of the Barbados Association of Endometriosis and PCOS, or BAEP, or BAPE for short. Our organization was created in 2016, and this was after I received my endometriosis diagnosis in 2014. So as I said, I'm one of the co-founders. The other co-founder is Miss Dawn Williams. She actually started to educate and advocate in Barbados in 2010 via her Facebook page, which at that time was called EndoFacts. It is now evolved into what is BAEP's Facebook page. And so she is credited with starting education, general education in Barbados as it pertains to endometriosis, as well as providing that platform for the BAEP to start more intense advocacy and outreach initiatives through that platform. We're also on Instagram, on Twitter, and so we have a great reach because of the social media platform and because of our digital advocacy, but we always credit Dawn with the start of the work from 2010. But I was diagnosed with endometriosis in 2014, and this was after in dealing with a lot of pain for roughly 15 years. And not knowing what was the cause of it, and I was on the receiving end of multiple types of treatment until in 2014 the physician I was seeing said, "I think you may have endometriosis," and it was the very first time I heard of the word, and it was then confirmed through surgery that year. And I had also started my Master's of Public Health during that year, and as I was studying and as I was also trying to deal with this new diagnosis, as well as trying to find out what can be done for better management of a chronic condition such as this, I recognized there needed to be more awareness and support for persons in Barbados who have endometriosis and other chronic conditions that aren't quite on the radar as it pertains to the community as well as the general healthcare system.
I first learned about the Barbados Association of Endometriosis and PCOS in 2017. This was 2 years after my endometriosis diagnosis. And since then, I've come to be involved with a number of the activities of the association. And this year, the Barbados Association of Endometriosis and PCOS will be celebrating Endometriosis Awareness Month under the theme Endometriosis is more than just a reproductive health issue. And in going about its work, the association embraces that theme, and they work on a number of fronts. The biggest thing for me was the awareness, and I think for anyone who may be seeking a diagnosis or seeking to understand, that awareness is going to be key. So the education that the association provides helps to lead to earlier diagnosis, and earlier diagnosis leads to earlier treatment, which can result in less anxiety for persons who are wondering what is going on. But it also can mean early intervention, especially as it relates to issues of fertility. So the education and awareness is key. The association also provides a community for women who are affected by these conditions, and that's really a big comfort. It's been a comfort to me and to a number of women who I know had been struggling with these issues and who for a long time thought that they were alone in the struggle. So one of the things that the community offers is really a safe place and a place to be understood. And there's also a lot of education and support within that group. So that's another key area in which the Barbados Association of Endometriosis functions. Another key role is advocacy. And this is a big one for me. And I know it's a big one for a lot of women, especially at this time. And what the association does is it works to table issues with persons at the policy-making level, both in civil society and at the levels of government. So it gives a voice to those who otherwise would not have had a voice.
One of the biggest things we have done of recent, and we're still a very young organization, we're not even 5 years as yet, but in 2019 we launched our research arm, and 2 projects came out of that. Dawn led a project looking at VAT on sanitary hygiene products and the cost implications of that. And I led a project looking at the outcomes and experiences of persons diagnosed with menstrual disorders, inclusive of endometriosis, PCOS, adenomyosis, and uterine fibroids. And so what the goal is moving forward is that the results that we've obtained from this research can be used to engage stakeholders at a more concrete level with facts and figures to support the information that we've been sharing since inception. A lot of the information at that point in time was information that was done on populations and in countries that weren't as representative as we would have liked, and we understood that it was the information that was available at that point in time, and we're very grateful and appreciative for the persons who have started this work. But we also recognize that we also have to consider our cultural context and the resources available to us in Barbados to help persons who have been diagnosed on island. And so that is why we decided to do those projects, and our research arm will continue to do more work as it pertains to the outcomes, implications, types of interventions that can be utilized to improve the health-related quality of life of persons diagnosed with endometriosis and similar conditions. We've also worked with multiple stakeholders in various sectors to engage them at various levels. We have a resource directory on our website where persons can review the listing that is there if they are seeking assistance, medical assistance, any type of healthcare assistance, as well as other areas that make up the whole gamut of health and wellness. And we thought it was critical because having a central repository for these resources can help cut down on some of the time that is taken searching through what the internet would be providing and coming up empty-handed. So that's why we thought having this resource directory was incredibly important as persons are seeking to find the best ways for them to manage their endometriosis and, help with that specific journey.
Hi everyone, my name is Lashana Griffith and I'm a former ambassador for Barbados Association of Endometriosis and PCOS. I must say that my stint has been nothing short of amazing, as I was able to be an ambassador in 2018 to 2019. I have also performed at the United Nations House in Barbados my poem, Invisible Not Imaginary, that poem which became the title for the book, Invisible Not Imaginary. I can still remember how that whole conversation went on. I was speaking to the co-founder Julia Maniville, and she suggested that we should do a book. And me being me, I said, well, we don't write it. And not knowing that she was taking me so seriously, she came back a few months later and said, Lashana, you remember what you said? We are going to write this book. And I must say that writing that book, assisting with writing that book, has been one of my pride and joys, because that allowed me to go to United Nations House for the first time and deliver the poem Invisible Not Imaginary.
Hi, my name is Janelle. I'm 31 years of age and I was diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis at the age of 19. Since then, I've been educating myself and others about the condition. I am a member of Barbados Association of Endometriosis and PCOS. Over the years, we've reached out to communities and have become a safe haven for females of all ages. We take care of our own, be it emotionally, financially, or physically. We currently have a project on the books that we would like to expedite. Many women are not prepared for surgery, and we would like to give them an aftercare package to help make their transition from hospital to home as easy as possible. This charity has become a cornerstone in my life. No matter what these ladies are going through, they're always there for each other. We help others to know that it's not just a bad period.
Hi, happy International Endometriosis Awareness Month to all of my endo sisters and supporters across the world. My name is Shanti and I'm an endo warrior from the beautiful island of Barbados. Now here in Barbados, I have done and I continue to do volunteer work with an association called the Barbados Association of Endometriosis and PCOS. Now in 2017, I was diagnosed with endometriosis at the age of 19 through laparoscopic surgery. Before this, I would have been in the ER on many occasions because of my period. And what sparked a concern for one of the doctors that I would have seen on one of these occasions many years ago was the discharge I was experiencing and the pain that I was in at that point in time. Now, I was around the age of 12 and she said to me, well, you have a cyst that has ruptured, something called a chocolate cyst, hence the color that you're seeing and the pain that you're in. I was confused as to what that meant, and she said to me, no, you normally see this with people who have endometriosis, something called endometriosis. And I, not knowing the term, never hearing the term before, she said to me, okay, I'm going to put you onto a gynecologist to see what the problem may be. And I would have never been to a gynecologist before this time, many years ago. And for me, the first time I experienced my period was at the age of 10. And my periods were always discomforting, but as time progressed, I would have had worse symptoms when it came to my period. Now in 2017 and finding out that I had endometriosis, I was kind of relieved because I found out what the problem was and, probably some possible things to do as it relates to making my situation better. No, I haven't really had the chance to really get it together yet as it relates to the pain, but I'm hopeful that there's a cure and that at some point in time we as women will not have to go through these things on a monthly basis. Now, as it relates to the work that I would have done with the association, we did a tour across many of the schools here in Barbados. So schools that have girls from the age of 11 up to 18, and even I did some work with some primary schools, but talking to the parents and letting them know that these are some of the possible things that you may have to see with your girl children, and not to normalize it, because a lot of times here in the Caribbean we normalize the pain that is experienced with our menstrual cycles. And as women, there's no reason why we should be missing work, missing school, because we are in so much pain that we cannot attend. And working with the association and talking to some of these girls, it's kind of heart-wrenching sometimes to hear what they're experiencing, because at my age, at the age of 10, I didn't have anybody to tell me, okay, all of this pain, it is not normal. At the age of 12, having that experience with the discharge, nobody around me, no family member knew of endometriosis. And funny enough, only when I was going through the process of, taking birth controls to see if it would help my situation and talking to the doctors, and my mom was with me, she said to the doctor, because the doctor asked, does anybody in your family have PCOS or endometriosis? And only at that point in time did I know that my mom has PCOS. So as mothers and as women in this world, I think that we need to talk to our young ladies, talk to our women, and let them know, well, these are some gynecological issues that you may experience, but do not let anybody tell you that it is in your head, because at times we can hear it's in your head. The pain can't be that bad, but trust and believe the pain is that bad. I can say that and attest to that, and a lot of us know it is that bad. And I just hope that as time goes on, things get better for us, and there's a worldwide understanding that women go through these things and we need to be supported. Thank you.
I'd like to wish everyone a very happy endometriosis month. I know that there's still a lot to be done in terms of finding a cure for this painful disease, but I believe by having this month, it will allow us to advocate and educate persons about these very chronic conditions that women face on a monthly and sometimes daily basis.
So as we go into this month of awareness, I want to congratulate the work of the volunteers of the Barbados Association of Endometriosis, and I hope this message reaches far and wide so that persons can know that they are not alone. There is support, and I want to continue to say thank you to those in the association doing the good work.
So at this point in time, I would like to say thank you to the Worldwide Endo March committee for thinking of still pivoting and having this virtual Endo March. I think it's a wonderful initiative, and I look forward to celebrating with all of the Endo warriors worldwide as we continue to raise our collective voice and push for meaningful, positive change as it pertains to best ways to diagnose, best ways to manage, best ways to treat, and eventually a cure for endometriosis. So, happy Endometriosis Awareness Month.
Marching as advocacy has a powerful impact for a worthy cause. Barbados is one of the smallest islands in the Caribbean and has made significant strides in raising awareness for endometriosis. Through Barbados Association of Endometriosis and PCOS, we have successfully held 3 endo awareness marches. Our first march gained over 300 attendees and has grown every year since. But imagine marching for a cause and being crippled with pain, your body shutting down and being unable to complete the march. Severe period pain is not normal. This is why we march. We want to be heard, we want our concerns and input taken seriously. We want a fair healthcare system where we're not ridiculed about being addicted to medication. We march to educate everyone about the disease. We want to put an end to the stigma and taboo about women's health and gynecological problems. Some of our sisters have sadly ended their lives because they were tired of being in pain. We need a cure for a mother, sister, aunt, niece, and friend. We're encouraging you to march. March for that significant other, holding the hand of their loved one. March for every mother trying to understand why her little girl is in pain. March to end countless doctor visits and surgeries. March for me, because some days I'm just not able to do it on my own.
Hi, my name's Keisha. I'm one of the founders of Endometriosis March Team Leeds. The reason we're doing the awareness march in Leeds is so that there is awareness within the north of England as well as the south. We think it's important to raise the issue around endometriosis in the north, as not many people are aware of it. There's been studies recently where they found that not many people are aware of what endometriosis is. It's important that we raise awareness around endometriosis, but we must make sure that everybody is fairly represented. You need to make sure this endometriosis awareness month that you include everybody around the table, and ensure that if you don't have the correct people around the table, that you invite them to that table as well, because without inviting those people to the table, we won't be able to raise the correct awareness. Endometriosis is very unknown, however it's a really common illness. There's a lot of people that suffer with endometriosis. It's around 1 in 10 people of reproductive age. However, we strongly believe that could be more. We're working with Leeds City Council to raise the profile of endometriosis, and there is currently an inquiry into the care of endometriosis patients across Leeds. There is around 20,000 people in Leeds with endometriosis, and we do not have a specialist centre. Due to this, we wanted to raise the profile of endometriosis in the city to ensure that we're ensuring that everybody gets the correct treatment that they need. We also believe that due to lack of support within Leeds, that it's important to raise the profile to let people know that we are here to support them if they need that support. And also that there is quite a big endometriosis community within Leeds that meet up on a regular basis, and let people know that you are more than welcome to join us if you feel like you want to be included with that. We go for coffee and meals and various different things. Endometriosis has a significant impact on people's well-being and quality of life. It has a massive impact on people's mental health. Endometriosis involves having recurring surgeries, hormonal treatments, and things that can cause big impact to people's quality of life. Even more reason for us to raise the profile across the city. This isn't just for Leeds, this is for the north of England as well. We want to see more endometriosis marches across various different cities in the north. We just are trying to encourage that more people get involved for the following years and try and raise as much awareness as possible. There isn't that many endometriosis centres in the north. We'd like to see an increase in endometriosis specialists. We do have great resources in the area, but not enough for the amount of people that are there. We want to see big improvements across the north of England, and we all can do that together.
Hi, I'm Councillor Matthew Robinson from Leeds City Council, and I'm supporting the Leeds Endo March because I believe it's a great opportunity to raise awareness about endometriosis, but it's also a great opportunity to help understand the struggles that far too many women face day in, day out with the condition. It's clear to me that we need to raise the profile of endometriosis. We need to help inform each other and help educate each other about endometriosis so it doesn't become a taboo topic. We need to make sure that there is support available to women and that their condition is understood by employers, by friends, by family, but society as a whole. And this march is a great opportunity to do that. It's a great opportunity to help each other. It's a great opportunity to educate ourselves, and I fully support it. So please support the Endo March, stay safe and look after each other. Thank you.
Hi everyone, hello, my name is Katie Luciani and I am the Executive Director here at the Endometriosis Network Canada. And on behalf of all of us here, I'd like to wish everyone a very, very happy Endo March. Woo! We are so very excited to be a part of this incredible, incredible community during such an important event, and we are thrilled to share the reasons that we Endo March, not just today, but every day. We would like to begin by acknowledging the Indigenous peoples of all the lands that we are on today. While we meet today on a virtual platform, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands with which we call home. We do this to affirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. Please join us in a moment of reflection to acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past and to consider how we are, in each of our own ways, trying to move forward in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. A bit about our background. The Endometriosis Network Canada began when a small group of people met in an endometriosis support group based in Toronto. This support group, which had been facilitated for approximately 15 years by reproductive health educator and counselor Jan Silverman, was the only one of its kind in Canada. Many of the founding board members of 10C had each personally experienced the dismissal of symptoms, delayed diagnosis, treatment failures, isolation, and the despair that many people experience as a result of this disease. Talking with others who understood what they were going through in the context of the support group, sharing treatment strategies and stories of self-advocacy and symptom management created a new sense of optimism. The realization that almost 1 million others were suffering similarly across Canada, in many cases alone and surrounded by a society that does not understand endometriosis or its impact, created the idea of founding a charitable organization that could help people across Canada by raising awareness, providing education and support, and ultimately creating hope for a better future for those who live with endometriosis. In the past 8 years, the organization has grown into a network of over 6,000 members strong. We've hosted online, in-person, and virtual support groups, organized multiple awareness and educational events, including the Canadian Endo March events and the Run to End Endo, and founded a government advocacy initiative to further our outreach and the vital awareness needed of this life-changing condition. We Endo March to create community. Over the years, the Endometriosis Network Canada has hosted and been involved with multiple Endo March events across the country, including an annual event in Toronto, Guelph, Quebec City, Edmonton, Ottawa, Vancouver, Coquitlam, Winnipeg, Montreal, Charlottetown, Regina, Saskatoon, Calgary, and Moncton. We also host a virtual Endo March featuring stories from patients in our community, as well as interactive segments such as meditation and yoga that create a connection and solidarity amongst Canadians living with endometriosis. We Endo March to provide support. Recognizing the great need for support, the Endometriosis Network Canada has hosted in-person support groups for 8 years in Toronto. These groups are open to people who have been diagnosed or who are starting out on their journey to a diagnosis. Additionally, 2 times a year, we open up the doors to our support groups to include a support person. Whether it's a family member, a friend, or a partner, we feel it's really important that those who support people living with endo also have a chance to be heard and benefit from attending and meeting other support people, sharing in strategies and coping mechanisms. We made the decision to offer monthly virtual support groups when the pandemic hit in order to remain available to our community. By offering 2 virtual support groups each month, the Endometriosis Network has been able to extend this service to people with endometriosis all across Canada, providing a safe and welcoming space for all. We EndoMarch to educate. Because of the generous contributions of people worldwide, the Endometriosis Network Canada has been able to raise vital awareness, initiate more educational programming, further expanding the network of support and reducing current barriers to diagnosis. We aim to build an organization that provides the best support and educational resources possible to patients and their families, enabling them to live strong, empowered, and healthy lives. In the past year alone, the 10C website has reached over 42,000 unique visitors from 101 countries. Those unique visitors are individuals that are living with endo or suspected endo, the patient community, support givers, medical professionals, and other practitioners. There's students, teachers, media, and those learning about endometriosis for the very first time. All essential to the endometriosis community, all integral to expanding networks of strong, informed, and compassionate support, all coming together to inspire hope. We EndoMarch to encourage togetherness. The Endometriosis Network Canada has established Run to End Endo events annually in both Edmonton, Alberta and Toronto, Ontario, with intentions to expand across Canada in the very near future. A virtual edition of the Run to End Endo was held last year, allowing for global participation from the endometriosis community that featured daily Spotify playlists curated by the 10C team, and also a private screening of the short film Endo, made possible by Bluebird Productions. It created a feeling of togetherness during a time of isolation. We look forward to another virtual run in 2021, and when safety permits, to bringing the community together again for in-person events in the future. We EndoMarch to inspire. To keep the community informed, the Endometriosis Network Canada is committed to providing a monthly newsletter featuring the most accurate and up-to-date endometriosis news, information, and upcoming events, and how to get involved. As of February this year, we currently have 897 subscribers, with an audience growth of 102 new subscribers in the last month alone. If you'd like to sign up to receive our newsletter, you can do so on the main page of our website. Scroll down to sign up. We EndoMarch to raise awareness. Our blog series features information and interviews with community members and medical professionals that explore various techniques and conversations about the importance of communication surrounding health and well-being. We cover topics from the basics of pelvic health terminology to endometriosis and mental health. Our most popular blog posts to date are "It's time for the endometriosis community to drop gendered language," with close to 8,000 page views. Another popular one is entitled "Endometriosis and Racism: How the Strong Black Woman Stereotype Hurts Endo Patients." If you'd like to see more, head over to our blog to check them out. We EndoMarch to effect change. The Endometriosis Network Canada is a founding organization of EndoAct Canada, whose mission is to improve the lives of people with endometriosis in Canada by driving policy action that is based on science and grounded in the needs of the endometriosis community. By bringing people together living with endometriosis, healthcare professionals, and researchers, EndoAct represents pan-Canadian expertise on endometriosis. We are raising awareness about the problems faced by the endometriosis community and solutions to ensure that everyone in Canada who has this condition gets the right care in the right place at the right time. If you want to share your endometriosis story, head over to endoact.ca and help government, stakeholders, and the public understand what it's like to live with endometriosis. We EndoMarch to advocate. Our vlog series, Viewpoints, Voice and Advocacy, highlights the perspectives and life experiences of those living with endometriosis as told by the individuals themselves and their supporters. Highlighting one community member's journey each month, these are the stories that empower, inspire, raise vital awareness of endometriosis, and compel change. Our most recent editions shares the story of Natasha. Discover how life-changing an official endometriosis diagnosis can be and how healing comes in many forms through her story. Natasha's powerful message to the community is this: stay strong, keep fighting, be your own advocate because we are in this together, Endo Warriors. We Endo March to spread hope. The Endometriosis Network Canada offers monthly wellness classes led by dedicated individuals to ensure that our community has access to self-care techniques. Our restorative yoga classes, they demonstrate the importance of communication with oneself and listening to our bodies. We also offer endo socials, in which our community members are invited to meet virtually to cultivate a connection through cooking and baking together. It's lots of fun. We are eager to offer more wellness programs in the near future, such as Pilates, fitness classes, and Qigong. This month, we are offering our very first of many writing workshops, Endo Writes. This is where we hope to empower individuals to get in touch with their experience, learning how to tell their endo story by putting words to how they feel. We truly, truly believe in the power of owning your own story and the therapeutic benefits of writing. We are working on many new initiatives to offer our community members in the near future, such as our Endo Well program, where we will be featuring wellness segments like pelvic floor stretches, Pilates, and more that the community can access anytime to have these helpful resources available to assist in coping with the pain and the discomfort of living with endometriosis. We Endo March to empower. The Endometriosis Network Canada fundraiser store was made possible by the incredible artistic support and generosity of our community members. The masterfully crafted creations available are the results of the artist's own form of healing from this disease. All proceeds are donated to the Endometriosis Network Canada and EndoAct Canada, made possible by the generosity of our artists. We here at the Endometriosis Network Canada Endo March for our community members, for their loved ones, for all of the people around the world living with endometriosis. We are all architects of our own endo community. Each action makes an impact, and these actions extend beyond the physical realm. When you prioritize your own health, physically, mentally, emotionally, and socially, you have a direct impact on those around you. When you speak or write or create or care for those who cannot themselves, you contribute greatly to the structure of our community. We are committed to encouraging and tending to these invaluable conversations, interactions, and creations in every way we can. Together, we will remain strong. It was a pleasure joining in the inspiration and the power of togetherness that makes Endo March such an iconic event. Thank you so, so much. Bye from the Endometriosis Network Canada.
González, tengo 31 años. Mis síntomas empezaron a los 10 años y me diagnosticaron hasta los 21 años. Tengo endometriosis grado 4, llevo 2 cirugías hasta el momento y no tengo hijos. Que no se vea no significa que no exista. Yo soy una de cada 10 mujeres con endometriosis.
Me llamo Ana Patricia González, tengo 36 años. Empecé con síntomas desde los 13 años y fui diagnosticada hasta los 26. Tengo endometriosis grado 4, hasta ahorita llevo 3 cirugías por laparoscopía y no he podido ser mamá. Que no se vea no significa que no exista. Soy una de cada 10 mujeres con endometriosis.
Hola, soy Amaranta Castillo, tengo 48 años. Mis síntomas empezaron a los 13 años y fui diagnosticada a los 34 años. Mi grado de endometriosis es fase 4, severo, y he tenido 4 cirugías por esta misma razón. Yo decidí no ser mamá, pero que no se vea no significa que no exista. Soy una de cada 10 mujeres con endometriosis.
Hola, mi nombre es Heidi del Carmen Mojarras, Córdoba. Tengo 40 años y empecé con síntomas desde los 11 años. Fui diagnosticada hasta los 29 años. Hasta el día de hoy tengo 9 cirugías por endometriosis, entre ellas una resección intestinal y también histerectomía. Que no se vea no significa que no exista. Soy una de cada 10 mujeres con endometriosis.
Hola, mi nombre es Lucía Ramírez, tengo 42 años. Empecé con los síntomas a los 12 años, fui diagnosticada a los 24 años. Desconozco el grado de endometriosis que tengo, nunca me lo han dicho. Tengo 2 cirugías, una laparoscopía y una histerectomía. Soy mamá. Que no se vea no significa que no exista. Soy una de las 10 mujeres con endometriosis.
Soy María Laura, tengo 41 años. Comencé con síntomas a los 19 años y me diagnosticaron a los 25. No sé qué nivel tengo de endometriosis porque el doctor que me operó de emergencia nunca me dijo. Tengo una cirugía, no tengo hijos. Que no se vea no significa que no exista. Soy una de cada 10 mujeres con endometriosis.
Soy Stephanie, tengo 31 años, soy asintomática. Fui diagnosticada con endometriosis moderada grado 2 a los 29 años. Llevo una cirugía ovárica y hasta ahora no soy madre. Que no se vea no significa que no exista. Soy una de cada 10 con endometriosis.
Mi nombre es Diana Barajas, tengo 35 años y tengo síntomas desde los 14 años. Fui diagnosticada hasta los 29 años con endometriosis grado 2. Tengo una laparoscopía y hasta el día de hoy no soy madre. Que no se vea no significa que no existe. Soy una de cada 10 mujeres con endometriosis.
Soy Mónica, tengo 44 años, empecé con síntomas a los 30, fui diagnosticada a los 32 con endometriosis grado 4, logré ser madre a los 38 milagrosamente, tuve 6 cirugías entre varios tratamientos. Que no se vea no significa que no exista, soy una de cada 10 con endometriosis.
Hola, soy Eva, tengo 47 años. A los 11 años empezaron mis síntomas con muchos cólicos. A los 26 años fui diagnosticada con fase 4 de endometriosis profunda. 2 cirugías, una laparoscopía y una laparotomía y no soy madre. Que no se vea no significa que no exista. Soy una de cada 10 mujeres con endometriosis.
Hola, me llamo Vanessa, tengo 36 años, mis síntomas empezaron a los 24 años y prácticamente apenas este año fui diagnosticada. Tengo una endometriosis de tipo moderada, fase 3. En unos días va a ser mi primera cirugía. Aún no soy mamá, pero espero serlo pronto. Que no se vea no significa que no exista. Soy una de cada 10 mujeres con endometriosis.
Soy una de cada 10 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 con endometriosis.
Welcome 2021 Worldwide Endo March virtual participants. My name is Marion Smith, and I am the chairwoman of the Detroit chapter of the Worldwide Endo March Foundation. About a year and a half ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 severe endometriosis after years of suffering from abdominal pain, nausea, migraine headaches, low back pain, fatigue, a whole host of symptoms. But fortunately, I found Dr. Cameron Najat at the Cameron Najat Institute in Palo Alto, California, and I've been under his treatment for about a little over 1 year. I've had 2 surgeries to date performed by Dr. Cameron Najat because of my endometriosis, and very soon I will be undergoing a 3rd surgery, once again due to endometriosis. So as you can see, endometriosis is something that I'm very passionate about helping to educate, mitigate, and ultimately, hopefully, a cure for this chronic disease. So joining me today is Dr. Kurt Wharton. We are here at Beaumont Hospital in Royal Oak. Thank you, Dr. Wharton, for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk about endometriosis with our audience.
It's my pleasure. It's been an important focus of my attention for over 3 decades. For 30 years, I was in practice in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I served on the clinical faculty at the University of California, San Francisco, where I taught minimally invasive surgery and helped educate residents and my patients on the troubles and challenges of dealing with endometriosis. Almost 3 years ago, I was recruited to come here to the Beaumont Health System in southeastern Michigan, and it's certainly an unmet need here. And we are working very hard to improve our access of care for patients. Hope that we can continue to improve patients' quality of life, assist them with infertility as well, if that's their concern.
And I think that is great, Dr. Wharton, because as you know, I am from the southeastern Michigan area, and I was fortunate enough to be able to go to Dr. Cameron Najat in Palo Alto, California. But as you had mentioned, Dr. Wharton, we need more of this kind of care here in this area. And so where do you see us going in this area with regard to helping to improve treatment, diagnosing, etc., of endometriosis?
I think one of the first things we have to do is we have to increase awareness of this problem, and not just among patients, but among my physician colleagues as well. It's been a condition that many women just didn't want to discuss because it's challenging. Many physicians have chosen not to address it, but through efforts of organizations like the Endometriosis Worldwide March, we're going to increase awareness and education. Certainly here at Beaumont Royal Oak, where we have a large OB/GYN residency program, I now oversee the women and children's clinical care programs for the entire Beaumont system, where we have not 1 but 4 OB/GYN residencies. We're going to be increasing our education efforts at both the medical challenges and the surgical challenges of addressing this problem.
That's excellent. I'm really happy to hear that, and I'm sure so many women in this area will be grateful for that. What is the prevalence of endometriosis?
If you look at the United States population, the prevalence of endometriosis among women is somewhere between 7 and 10%. If you look at smaller subsets of women, for instance, women who experience infertility, we suspect that at least 40% of women have endometriosis. And if you look at the group of women who suffer from chronic pelvic pain, probably close to 80% of women have endometriosis. Now, where do we get these numbers? Well, the diagnosis of endometriosis can be challenging. The most definitive way to diagnose it is to perform surgery, preferably minimally invasive surgery such as laparoscopy, where the physician can look, examine the patient, identify the lesions, when in doubt, perform a biopsy that will confirm the presence of endometriosis. But again, there's individual variation from surgeon to surgeon. They have different experiences, different levels of training. And endometriosis does not appear uniformly the same in every single patient. There are typical lesions that are called blueberry or gunpowder spots, but it can be clear, it can be yellow, it can be cherry red, it can be all the above, and it can hide. It can be readily seen on the top of the uterus, on the surface of the bladder, on the fallopian tubes, on the ovaries, on the intestines, but it can be throughout the pelvis, throughout the abdomen. It can exist inside the bladder, inside the intestine, even inside the chest, in the lung. So there's not one test that says, yes, you have endometriosis, or no, you don't. But if you have pain in your pelvis, if you have pain with your period, if your pain precedes, it starts before your period and extends after your period, if you have pain with intercourse, if you have pain with bowel movements, if you have pain with urination, if you have trouble conceiving, if you bleed when you go to the bathroom, either from your bowel or from your bladder, if you cough up blood when you have your period, yes, you might have endometriosis. Now, if we treat you medically and you get better, and the medication is designed specifically to address endometriosis, then we can feel somewhat confident that you probably have endometriosis. But again, the most definitive way is to perform the diagnosis surgically and have it confirmed by pathology. But my feeling has always been that endometriosis is far more prevalent than we've said. I've quoted these numbers, but I think it's far more prevalent than that because, again, we're just not as good at diagnosing it as we should be.
And what would you say are the risk factors for endometriosis?
Well, certainly, well, let me not say not certainly. What we do know is that endometriosis is a condition where cells that normally live inside the uterus, the lining of the uterus, are no longer living there. They've migrated either through what we call retrograde blood flow or reverse backwards menstruation, where normally the uterine lining sheds and bleeds, and the blood and the cells that line the uterus exit the uterus through the cervix and out the vagina. But those cells can also exit in the reverse direction through the fallopian tubes and then spill onto the ovaries, the uterus, the bladder, and the intestines. And they're little pioneers, and the cells, the endometrial glands and the attached stroma, the connective tissue, just find themselves a new home, and they respond to the normal menstrual hormone cycle. The cells, again, can migrate that way. We believe they can also spread through the bloodstream, through the lymph system. And again, there are just many people who were born with it. The cells ended up in the pelvis, in the abdomen, when they were originally destined to be inside the uterus. Many cells will just change, a problem called cetulomic metaplasia, where the cells have this opportunity to grow into almost anything, and they unfortunately grow into endometriosis.
Wow, it's really an interesting disease, to say the least, and it causes a whole host of problems once it starts to grow.
Yes, but again, in answer to your question, what are the risk factors? Well, the more periods you have, the greater the chance you might have endometriosis. For a woman who, for whatever reason, never has a period, well, her chance of having reverse menstruation, retrograde menstruation, is exceedingly low. A woman, the typical American woman, has a cycle about every 28 days. If you have a period that comes every 21 days, well, that's much more opportunity to get pregnant if that's your goal. But if you're not trying to get pregnant, it certainly gives you an opportunity to have a lot more periods and a lot more chance of endometriosis. If you start your period young, certainly before age 11, that increases your risk.
Sure.
Many women, especially tall, slender women, may have the onset of their period delayed until their late teens or later. We know that breastfeeding and being pregnant generally don't result in women having periods. So pregnancy and breastfeeding seem to reduce the risk of developing endometriosis or worsening or progression of endometriosis.
I've heard that before, that if you become pregnant, that will help to reduce the endometriosis.
That was the old-fashioned therapy.
I see.
Have endometriosis, get pregnant. What's the downside? 40% of women with infertility have endometriosis.
Yes.
Why is that? We're not really sure. Certainly, endometriosis can cause scarring and obstruction of the fallopian tubes. It can cause lack of mobility. Normally, the fallopian tubes and ovaries hang freely in the pelvis, and if they're scarred together, it's harder for the egg and sperm to come together. We also know that the abnormal presence of the endometrial cells and stroma outside of the uterus is recognized by the body's immune system. The body produces cells called macrophages and cytokines that produce a lot of prostaglandin hormones, the hormone that causes women to have their menstrual cramps. So you get this inflamed, swollen area with essentially a civil war going on between the immune system and the endometriosis. That's not a very healthy place for pregnancy to occur.
No, not at all. I can see that. Wow. What would you say is better when it comes to treating endometriosis? Surgery or medication or holistic approach?
Now, that's a tough question. Certainly we know that people that have significant disease, as you've had, in stage 4, do much better with surgery primarily to reduce the large amount of the disease. Very commonly, women are diagnosed with early endometriosis, either because they're having pain, or they're having infertility, or perhaps they're having surgery for another reason. They're having their appendix removed, and it's noted that they have endometriosis. So when we treat the early disease, stage 1, it's not as impressive as we would like to see that we're making a difference in people. What's even more interesting is that the amount of disease does not correlate with the amount of symptoms, whether it's pain or other dysfunction. I've had many patients who are full of endometriosis, much to the surprise of the patient and myself, because she had no symptoms. And I've had other patients who, what some people would say was minimal disease, yet we treated it and had tremendous success. So there's quite a bit of variability from person to person. But certainly if you have advanced disease, it's best to remove as much as possible, try to restore the normal anatomy of the female pelvis, and then treat it with medications such as anti-inflammatory drugs, the anti-prostaglandin drugs that we all know so well, things like ibuprofen, Motrin, Advil, Aleve. Tylenol and aspirin, not quite so effective. And then using hormonal therapy, which there's quite a variety of medications that we can discuss.
You mentioned that about using anti-inflammatories. I know that prior to my diagnosis of endometriosis, I would find myself taking Motrin 800 often because I had this low back pain, and it did help. Do you recommend that, and how much of that should a woman be taking, or when do you think when the light bulb should go off and you should think I should go and see someone? Something's not right. I'm taking this chronically.
Well, certainly there's quite a bit of individual variation. We do know that it's safe for women of reproductive age to take over-the-counter non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, Motrin, ibuprofen, Advil, Aleve. And that's why the Federal Drug Administration, the FDA, has allowed it to be sold without a prescription. Now, as women or men get older, certainly beyond the age of 65, we know it does increase the chance of developing stomach ulcers and other issues. But taken when as directed, it really should be quite safe. But certainly, it's up to the individual to decide, I'm coping with this, I'm just fine, I don't need to see a doctor, I don't need surgery, I don't need prescription medications, I just take Motrin once in a while, I keep it with me, I take it as I need it, and that's my adjustment, I'm happy with that. There are many people who are not happy with that situation, or people who find that over-the-counter doses just aren't adequate to maintain their quality of life. And certainly, those people should be encouraged to be seen as soon as possible.
Definitely. And how you were talking about how you diagnose endometriosis in your 30 years, I think you said, of treating it. Where have you seen, as far as innovation, progress? Have you seen medicine advance with regard to evaluating, diagnosing, and treating endometriosis? And where do you see the future going?
Actually, I've seen a tremendous change, which I'm so pleased.
Excellent.
When I first began my career, minimally invasive surgery consisted only of laparoscopy, and it was used just as a diagnostic tool. People would use it like a telescope to look into the future. They would look inside the abdomen and say, yes, there's endometriosis, and then either try to treat it hormonally or do something very aggressive through a large incision, perhaps proceeding directly to hysterectomy. We also had very few medications available. So with the changes, the improvements in surgery, women are able to have this disease aggressively treated and have most often a rapid recovery without the need for more serious definitive surgery, such as a hysterectomy. We've gone from having very few medications. Well, when I first started in medicine, Motrin was sold by prescription only. Now anybody can get it. And we know that inexpensive medications, hormonal medications such as birth control pills, and other forms of progesterone such as injectable progesterone, Depo-Provera, oral progesterone. In Europe, there's some other medications, but here in the United States, we've had a medication available for quite a long time called Danazol. Danazol is what we call an androgen. It's a testosterone-like hormone. It's very effective, without a doubt. Not very expensive, but it does have a serious side effect profile that includes acne, unwanted hair growth, muscle pain, but it does work. I was blessed that during my training at the University of California, San Francisco, we did the original research with medication that's known as a gonadotropin-releasing hormone agonist, or a GnRH agonist. The most common form today is called Lupron.
Oh, yes.
And Lupron has a much better side effect profile. but it can cause hot flushes, skin dryness, vaginal dryness. And we do know that after 6 months or a year of use without any what we call add-back therapy, any supplemental estrogen or progesterone, that the bones suffer because Lupron induces an artificial menopause. It makes the body think there's no reason to ovulate, there's no reason to produce estrogen, which stimulates endometriosis. But the bones then begin to think it's menopause as well. So the bones get weaker. And so for slender patients who are already at high risk of osteopenia, bone weakening, or osteoporosis, significant bone weakening, that we have to give the add-back therapy. Now we have a new medication, a new class of medications. The first is under the generic name of Elagolix, or the brand name of, I always mispronounce it, Oracilla. Now, it is a medication that's similar to Lupron, but instead of being like the natural hormones, it actually blocks the hormone receptors in the brain, in the pituitary gland, so the body does not secrete the hormones that will stimulate estrogen production by the ovaries. Now, this new medication that's just being approved, it's just finishing stage 3 trials, is actually hoping to be approved for the treatment of uterine fibroids, which also respond to estrogen. But clearly we know that Elagolix works against endometriosis and fibroids, so I think in the future we have a great medication.
Excellent.
And it will be one pill that contains actually 3 hormones. It'll be this GnRH antagonist, as well as a 1 milligram dose of estrogen and a half a milligram of norethindrone, the most common progesterone that's found in birth control pills. So I'm having great hope that we'll have yet one more thing we can offer patients.
Excellent.
And again, many patients who have classic symptoms, it's very reasonable to withhold surgery and try medical therapy first. It's an option we can offer people now quite safely.
That's great, to have some options, or start with medicine and then go to surgery.
And much of it requires that after consultation, the patient have a very thorough examination, including a transvaginal ultrasound examination to rule out the presence of endometriosis cysts on the ovary, what we call endometriomas.
Yes.
And medical therapy does not do a very effective job at shrinking those or preventing them from becoming larger.
I see.
They can increase in size and impair fertility, cause pain. The ovaries can enlarge and twist on themselves, and that's an emergency. It's very painful.
I had those.
I'm sorry. But a well-trained surgeon should be able to treat them. And what we do surgically is we open the ovary and remove the entire cyst, not just drain it, because it will come back. So you want to remove the cyst, but you want to do it as carefully as possible. Because when a woman is born, she has all the eggs she's ever going to have. And the number of eggs she has decreases dramatically before she even reaches puberty. And with each menstrual cycle, a woman loses far more than just 1 egg per month. So when this surgery is performed, we have to remember, we have to preserve all the natural, healthy ovarian tissue that we can.
Wow. I tell you, I think I speak on behalf of so many women out there. We are truly grateful to physicians like you, Dr. Wharton, Dr. Najat, his brothers, Dr. Azadeh Najat, who have really made treatment of endometriosis and helping patients with endometriosis part of your practice, and really grateful to that. Do you see more OBGYNs becoming interested in endometriosis treatment as we move forward? There'll be more specialists available, because I know in my quest to find someone, it's difficult to find someone that's knowledgeable of the area. What would you recommend a patient who is thinking they may have endometriosis, or maybe isn't sure they're getting the correct direction with regard to their treatment or medical plan?
Well, the first question, I certainly hope that we will have more and more physicians who are interested in skill. That's one of my missions as an educator, trainer, teacher of physicians for over 30 years. We're also seeing a change in our population. Women are having fewer children.
Yes.
They're having children at a much later age. And remember, those behaviors actually increase the risk of endometriosis. So this problem is not going away. It's unfortunately going to become probably more prevalent.
More prevalent.
So we definitely need to address that situation. Otherwise, we're not meeting our responsibility as a provider of health care for women. What should a woman ask? Well, I think if she has pain and sees her physician, I think it's very fair to say, do you have an interest? Should I feel comfortable having you take care of my problems, or is there someone that you would recommend who has expertise? As you would do with any condition.
Mm-hmm.
If you went to your regular practitioner and had a skin condition and they seem perplexed, you say, well, should I see a specialist? That's very fair to ask, and I think an honest physician will have no problem saying, yes, I feel quite comfortable and I'm very experienced and here's what we should do, but this is the point at which I would want you to be referred to someone else. Or they must say, well, you know, I focus on other aspects of women's health care, and perhaps you can go see my colleague. Communication is the key.
Yes, I think you're right. Yes, communicating, asking the right questions.
Don't be afraid. Speak up. And of course, everyone can go on Google now and
yes, right.
find out resources.
That's right. We do have so many resources. That's how I was able to actually find my doctor, is through doing my own homework. And that's what I always tell women that I come in contact with that may be experiencing endometriosis symptoms or think that they have some. Do your homework. You know, really, you have the opportunity with the resources through the internet that are available to us today that may not have been before. One of the last questions I have for you, Dr. Worden, is adolescent girls or women. Do you think that there could be a way of early intervention or mitigating this prior? Because I know in my case, I didn't find out that I had endometriosis until I was 42 years old. After years of suffering from these different symptoms, but I never really put them together that collectively they were because of endometriosis. So what are your thoughts with regard to early intervention or how we could get to that population before they get to...
I'm really glad you asked that question. And for the audience, I did not provide Marion with this question in advance.
No.
One of my strongest beliefs, and at first it was somewhat jokingly, but it's really a quite sincere feeling that I have, is that we should address the needs of our society. And in our society, we're not encouraging teenage pregnancy. And since the early 1990s, we have made a tremendous improvement at preventing teenage pregnancy with all its inherent financial, social, and personal costs. We have a society that supports, endorses, respects education, and that takes time. And a woman should not have to suffer because she's making these choices to proceed with education and improving her life. But yet we haven't given everything that a woman needs to be successful. So I always joke that when I am king, but I believe in the democratic process, but when I am king and they coronate me, that every young woman in middle school, as soon as she starts to menstruate, will have the opportunity to have a progesterone releasing IUD, and that it be replaced every 5 to 7 years until she decides that she really wants to begin her reproductive life. That would, number one, protect her against unplanned pregnancy and allow her all the opportunities that she's due. And it would certainly reduce her risk of endometriosis. So as soon as I'm king, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Very interesting, Dr. Worden. Yeah. Is there anything else today that you'd like to share with our audience that you think is important with regard to endometriosis?
Mm-hmm. I think what we do know, and Dr. Najat is instrumental in increasing our knowledge in this, is that having endometriosis is no one's individual fault. And we know that many people we now know, are genetically predisposed to having endometriosis. I think that women should feel more empowered to acknowledge that they have this condition, to not be afraid to speak up, to not be ashamed to speak up, to not wait, to not think that, well, my sister has this and suffers, my mother had it and suffered, my grandmother had it and suffered, I don't need to speak up. No, I think that's absolutely wrong.
I agree.
And if she goes to a healthcare provider and shares her concerns and is not heard to her satisfaction, she needs to find another healthcare provider who will give her the attention that she deserves.
I think that is so well said. Excellent advice and words of wisdom from Dr. Kurt Wharton here at Beaumont Hospital in Royal Oak, Michigan. Thank you so much for talking with us today, Dr. Wharton.
It's been my pleasure.
It's been my pleasure as well speaking with you, and thank you, all of you out there who joined us on this session. Have a great rest of your day.
Hi, my name is Devin Duffy, and I am an endometriosis survivor, warrior, and advocate. We believe that I've had endometriosis since I was about 9 years old. However, I didn't get diagnosed until I was over the age of 20. The average time for diagnosis currently takes 11 years, and that's just too long. We need better for future generations so that females do not have to go through this in the future. When I was diagnosed, I was told by my OBGYN at the time that there was a possibility that I had endometriosis, but as long as he did a laparoscopy surgery, I would be fine. He told me I was a stage 3 out of 5, which we know there's only 4 stages, and that he had gotten rid of all of it. I didn't think much of it until about 5 years later when my pain started coming back. I started doing research on my own, and I learned that endometriosis can not only grow back, but it's something that you may need surgery for every 3 to 5 years of your life. At this point in time, it had been 5 years since my first surgery, so I knew that I was probably up for another one. Not only that, but the surgery that my first OBGYN did is not the way to take care of it, and it is definitely not a cure. From there, I decided that living in a big city like Columbus, Ohio, there would have to be many, many, many nonprofits, organizations, outreaches, and programs that help women learn about this condition since it affects 1 in 10. I started doing research and I was quickly disappointed to find out that there were not only nothing in Columbus, but only one in all of Ohio, and it was over 2.5 hours away from where I currently lived. I decided that it was time that Columbus, Ohio had a nonprofit organization for the advocacy and education of not only women dealing with endometriosis, but their family and loved ones as well. This is the night that Endo Sisters was born. I started to gather a group that I felt trusted and I could rely on. And after getting some input from others, I decided why not, and I just applied for the nonprofit licensing through the government. We were approved as a 501c3, and we officially were born in 2018. When we were planning for our first endometriosis awareness walk, we did partner with Worldwide Endo March. We were told to plan for 50, but expect 20. Over 200 people showed up to our first walk, and we had such a blast. The weather in Columbus, Ohio that day was awful. It was cloudy, overcast, and even started raining. However, there were over 200 people that showed up in their yellow and walked the streets of downtown Gahanna in order to advocate for endometriosis. As 2019 rolled on, we started planning our Endo March for 2020. We got one of the largest malls in the Columbus area to let us do our march there. We had an approved route, date, and vendors who were going to come and be a part of our march. We got one of the best endo specialists in Central Ohio to come be a speaker, and we had nearly 500 people in anticipation of showing up for that day. Little did we know the pandemic would hit and all in-person activities would be canceled. After our Endo March in 2019, we were able to raise over $5,000 in funding for the education and awareness of endometriosis, not only throughout Central Ohio, but across the country. We are hoping that we can continue to grow, educate, and advocate for those who may not know or understand, or maybe even be able to advocate for themselves. We hope that we are able to help women pay for some of their medical expenses through scholarships or grants, and we hope that one day diagnosis will not take 11 years. We have high hopes for the future generations, for my niece, my future daughters, and anyone that I know that may be affected with this condition. No one should have to suffer for 11 years without a diagnosis, especially for something that happens with over 10% of the female population. Endometriosis is something that should be taught in all health classes around the globe. It should be something that's considered a disability so that women can get paid leave time from work. Endometriosis affects more than 10% of the female population, and it's time that our voices were heard. Endometriosis needs a cure. It needs treatment, it needs diagnosis, and it needs everyone's attention. Please help rise up, let your voice be heard, and help endometriosis get on the forefront of everyone's mind so that we can find a cure. I am 1 in 10. Thank you.
I walk for Endo to raise awareness and find a cure for my daughter, my granddaughters, my nieces, their daughters, and all the daughters that come after them. I hope you end today with spoons.
Hi, my name is Brittany. I am 1 in 10. I started my period when I was 13 years old, and from that point on, I just had horrific pains, horrific periods, heavy periods, or just didn't have a period at all. And by the time I was 19, I was married, which was wonderful, and had started college, and ended up just having these debilitating pains, and went to a doctor and found that I actually had some ovarian cysts. So they went in and to remove them, and at that time found endometriosis as well. And at that point it was stage 1, and I was told it was removed, and that really the only complications I would probably have is that I could probably have some more cysts, and that maybe I should think about having children at 19 years old. And thankfully I was, and still am married, but we were not quite ready to have children yet. And still just had years and years of pain. And finally at 22, I did end up having my first child. Did find out I did actually have I had a miscarriage prior to getting pregnant with him, but we were able to get pregnant with him fairly easily, actually, in retrospect, and ended up having 2 others after him. Went some years without having any problems or any pain, and not really even remembering that I had endometriosis, to be honest with you. And then I started having complications again. Was able to find an endo specialist in my area, and ended up having 2 more laparoscopic surgeries over a period of time. And then eventually I did have a hysterectomy, mainly due to having adenomyosis, not the endometriosis, but also hoping that that would help things too. And for a while after that it did, and I was doing pretty well. Then I started having cysts again, because I did keep my ovaries after my hysterectomy. So started having cysts, and ended up now, currently, I am 5 years on an anti-inflammatory diet, exercise, yoga, all of that stuff. But it doesn't go away. As many of you women know, there is no cure right now for endometriosis, and it is a debilitating disease. There are days that I can't get out of bed still. There are days that I just feel like it's never ever going to end. It not only hurts our bodies physically, but it also hurts our bodies mentally. And it is PTSD, where we have one little twinge of pain and we think everything's going to come back again. And we know that may not work, may not happen, but it's there. It's always, always there. So I just want to encourage all of you women out there who have endometriosis that you, first of all, are not alone. It's not just in your head. You have true pain. I encourage you to seek help, physically and mentally. Find somebody who can support you. Find somebody that you can lean on, and be strong. We're in this together. We're in this fight together, and you are not alone. My name is Brittany. I have endometriosis, and I am 1 in 10. And I am a survivor, and I am a warrior.
Columbus Worldwide, cheer and shout and do whatever you do. Yeah! show you the setup we got going on here. We got some more people chilling. Hi, we're live for the people who can't come, like Nicole. Here's our registration table. Here's our wall of stories. So everyone that came that has been touched by endo filled out a card, and we've posted them up on the wall. Hey, Nicole. So we got that going. We got a selfie frame made by a fellow endo warrior. Got a backdrop for pictures. Am I in your... Okay, sorry, John. We got this baller balloon arch that our high school volunteers had 10 high school volunteers. They blew up 300 balloons in 20 minutes. DJ, chilling. We live. We're just going live to show people who can't come. This place is huge. Here's our Endo Sisters table with all our merch. And Jackson Shoes box. Got freebies, items. We got some herbal tea, info, business cards. Yeah, we'll skip over that one. Got all Samantha. Here's your flyers. We got some make your own ribbons. Over here we got a silent auction going on. We got an Endo Sisters basket, Juice Plus, Macaroon of the Month, Color Street, and Simply Splintered. Then we got some snackage over here. We got some cute as a button yellow ribbon. Oh, you like them? Yeah. Shout out to Sarah Biggard for making these cookies for us. We got some snackage on the way over here. All donations from our people. So yeah, we got a party going on. Just sent all those people over to Creekside.
Are you guys gonna be quiet? No! Do you want research? Yeah! Do you want a cure? Yeah! All right!
So yeah, we had a great turnout. The weather held out for me. Thank you, Lord, for having the rain wait. We got the family of Tutus. Let me see if I can get them over here. There's the Tutu family. Heading down to the cars. We got people coming back to the clubhouse. Still got tons of snacks that people got to eat. We got strollers, kids, adults, grandparents. Look at all those people. Look at all those people. I do not have a final count, but we had over 150 people check in. Look at that sea of yellow.
Hello, this is Dr. Fawn Najat from New York. Would like to welcome you to 2021 Worldwide Endomarch. We have had excellent successes raising the awareness of endometriosis in New York chapter for past few years. 2018, we had a half a day of seminar in NYU Winthrop Hospital in Long Island, inviting different physicians and also patients to give lectures and share their stories about endometriosis. The first year, 2018, and also 2019, we had Dr. Antonio Vencelos, the chairman of the Department of OBGYN in NYU Winthrop Hospital, discussing the purpose of the Worldwide Endomarch, and also different physicians discussing different aspects of endometriosis, like diagnosis, treatment for pelvic pain, infertility, and also other aspects of the pelvic pain like interstitial cystitis, which the symptoms could be similar to endometriosis. And it was well received in 2018. Subsequently, we had another successful meeting in 2019. And this time, not only it was in Long Island, NYU Winthrop Hospital, also we had it in Manhattan. We had excellent supports from not only physicians for this event, but by patients, patient advocates and their family. Among them, my assistant, Ms. Stephanie Letosky, that has been a warrior for increasing the awareness of endometriosis because of her own experience, that I would like to ask her later, share with you her experiences. Unfortunately, we could not have a successful in-person Endomarch gathering last year due to COVID-19. However, we had a successful virtual meeting last year, and this year also, of course, as you are part of it now, it is going to be virtual. There is a video clip that we have put together that shows the patients, physicians for past 2 years, including Dr. Jihad Unlu from Istanbul, Turkey, that it was the winner of the 2019 Hero that had come all the way from Turkey to participate in our Endomarch with his wife, Asun. We're looking forward to a very successful 2021 virtual meeting, and hopefully we have in person next year. Good luck, and again, we'd like to thank all the participants, supporters of EndoMarch, Worldwide EndoMarch, in raising the awareness of this condition. Thank you very much. So as you saw, we had the patients, their family, their physicians that had participated in these two gatherings. Some of you may have seen my late partner, Miss Elise Travers, which has spent most of her adult life dealing with endometriosis, and we advocate of their patients and had a support group in New York. She was one of the participants, but unfortunately she joined the heaven 1.5 years ago. Again, we'd like to thank you for all of your participation in the past, participants, their family, our patients, their family, and our colleagues. And again, thank you for your contribution all over the world to this virtual EndoMarch. And now I'd like to introduce you to you again, my assistant, Stephanie Litowski, to say a few words. Thank you again.
Hi, everyone. I am Tiffany Litowski. I am Dr. Farnajat's assistant and also part of the team here at Worldwide EndoMarch. Thank you so much for all of your support, for joining us this weekend. I hope you are enjoying everything that we have to show you and learning and feeling the support that is so much needed when living with endometriosis. I know because I have been living with endometriosis for many, many years. I've had several surgeries and lots of health conditions I've been dealing with over the years. And because of that, I attended the Long Island EndoMarch in 2018 that you just watched a video of. And during that presentation and at that EndoMarch was the first time I actually felt that I was in a room full of people that truly understood what it was like living with endometriosis and going through the things that I went through on a day-to-day basis. Because of that, I knew I had to get involved. And ever since then, I've been volunteering, and now I work with Dr. Farnajat in his offices as well, helping patients with endometriosis and cancer. So I just want to let all of you know that if you are in pain, if you are struggling, I see you, I hear you, I believe you, and I'm here for you. I hope that you learn a lot this weekend. I hope you share it with your friends and family and your support groups. and that you get a lot out of this. And we are all here for you and would not be able to do all of this without you. So thank you so much for constantly sharing and helping us raise awareness to get to all the awareness we have gotten to over the past few years. And forward we go.
My name is Mori Lee. I live in Jerusalem, Israel, and I have endo. From the age of 16 to 25, I was on hormonal birth control. So I had short, 3-day, easygoing periods, no pain. I had no idea what endo was. At the age of 25, I got married, and I wanted to clean my body before we got pregnant, and I got on the non-hormonal IUD. Immediately, my periods became more painful and longer. We thought it was because of the IUD, because those are side effects of an IUD. After about a year, we decided to get pregnant. We got off of the IUD. I got pregnant on our second try, 2 months. No problems with our first child. After the pregnancy, even though the IUD made my periods more painful, I decided to go back on it. I didn't want to go back to hormones. After about 10 months of being on an IUD, my periods were more and more painful. I couldn't handle it anymore, and we decided to get off of the IUD. We thought the pain would go away, that within a few months my periods would be back to normal, or what I consider normal. But not only did it not get better, it got worse. Within 2-3 months, there was a critical turning point. My periods became much, much worse. I started shaking on the floor from pain, throwing up from pain, leaving work in the middle of the day. We ended up in the emergency room a few times. And we went to the doctor. I feel very lucky, though, that already that first month that the pain had a critical turning point, the doctors immediately started whispering endo and saying endo, and we were sent to an endo specialist. The endo specialist said it sounded like endo and that we should think about surgery. Around the same time, we also started trying to get pregnant. And the doctor said, try to get pregnant as if there's no surgery, plan for surgery as if there's no pregnancy. And that's exactly what we did. We tried to get pregnant for a total of 6 months and did not succeed. To me, this was a clear sign that there was a problem. The pain that I didn't have last time I tried was significant, and we were not managing to get pregnant. To me, that there was no doubt in my mind that they were not connected. And so we went for the surgery, and in the surgery they removed 2 cysts from my fallopian tubes, which obviously were causing me to not get pregnant. And they disconnected my right ovary from the side of my stomach, which is exactly where my pain was. I always had pain in the right side, right above the ovary. Right after the surgery, the first month after the surgery, we tried to get pregnant and succeeded, to me making clear statement that the surgery was the right option for us and that that was the reason that we couldn't get pregnant. My daughter is now 1 year and 3 months old. I got on a hormonal IUD this time right after the pregnancy, considering that we now know that I have endo. And I've been on the hormonal IUD since, and pain-free.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Galbato, and I'm with Team Colorado for the Worldwide Endo March. I'd first of all like to say thank you to Worldwide Endo March for putting on this two-day event. I hope next year we can all march together and raise awareness together. I have to say that I am very passionate about this year's campaign, Time to End the Silence. It's time to end the silence for us Endo sisters. We battle this alone, and we all suffer in silence. And we all deserve support from our family, friends, and coworkers, employers, and most of all from the medical professionals. So today, for Team Colorado, you're going to hear from two Endo sisters, and they're going to talk about their Endo stories. And then Colorado is so lucky and so blessed. We do have an endometriosis specialist. So today you'll hear from Dr. Andrew Cook. But yes, together, let's end the silence and go Team Colorado.
Hi everybody, my name is Callie and I live in Denver, Colorado. And I'm here to share a little bit about my endometriosis experience and give you some feedback on what I find could be helpful. And I want to thank Worldwide Endo March for putting these 2 days together. What a wonderful event to be able to do, even though unfortunately we can't get outside and all be together. But next year we will be able to. So we look forward to having you on the Colorado team next year as we do some sort of outdoor event. So a little bit about me. And I made these cards so that if reading is a little easier for you, it's kind of like a summary. So I was diagnosed around 20 years old, which is really early in terms of education. Usually it takes 8 to 10 years. So I was blessed in that we found it pretty early for me. Since then, I have done a lot of treatments, but as far as surgeries go, I had 2 ablations and 2 excisions. My most recent one being on the 2nd of March this month. And an excision is kind of the gold standard. I'm not going to go into the difference between the two, but make sure you do your research and know what those are when you go looking at a treatment. And one of the things I'm just really happy about is that there's this big giant community out there now. When I was first diagnosed, that didn't exist, and it's hard for somebody to get diagnosed with this disease early on and have no support system. You know somebody with endometriosis, whether it's family, friends, or coworkers. Somebody in your life has this disease, and not everybody's disease presents the same. So you could have 2 people in your life that have wildly different symptoms, and that's just the way this disease is. You are not responsible for your illness. So nothing you did or didn't do got you a diagnosis of endometriosis. And that's applicable to a lot of illnesses. However, you are responsible for educating yourself. If you have a chronic illness, you have just got to, for your own well-being, do as much investigation and learning as you can. And it can be in bite-sized amounts, 2 or 3 minutes a day. 2 or 3 minutes a day over 2 or 3 years is a substantial amount of information. And why are you going to do this? Because no other person can ever know your body as well as you do. You're in it 24/7. And so that enables your medical treatment to be a partnership between you and the provider, because the provider will never know exactly how things go within your body. So you have to be able to provide that kind of input, collaboration. Now I want to talk about 2 resources, since education is a big thing for me. Nancy's Nook. This is what I'm kind of making a reference to. It's like the library. It's the place with all the information. You're responsible to go in there and learn. And so Nancy's Nook is an endometriosis education site. It's called self-led learning, meaning that you're responsible to go in there, read, and educate yourself. Nancy's Nook is a Facebook group, and now they also have a website, which is awesome, because then they're going to be able to keep the information right there front and center and tweak it as we learn and grow, right? Because that's the goal, learn and grow. And so I say that it's the library because a lot of people don't understand what Nancy's Nook is for, and it's to give you all of the information that you could need at your fingertips so that you can self-learn. But what it isn't is a support group. So a support group, that's like book club. That's where you can go and you can all talk together and collaborate and laugh and just, really get into the details and the personal experience, like book club is, this is what this meant for me. But that's not necessarily transferable to like the masses, right, for education. So support groups are good. They're a space to chat with others, and they can help you with connection. You're able to find other people that can relate to what you have going on. What I would suggest is that you avoid blindly taking medical advice out of the support group. That person's most likely not a medical professional, so they're going to be speaking from their experience, and their body is different than my body. So what happened to them is not necessarily what's going to happen to me. So keep that in mind as you're going through there. They're great for connection, and they are great as a jumping off point of education, right? They can say, hey, this happened to me. And you're like, oh, that's curious. I'm going to go do a bit more digging before I make a medical judgment for myself, and then in collaboration with my medical professional. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you learned a little bit about endometriosis, and I hope you'll join us in making us find why this happens and maybe even getting a cure.
Hi, it's Dr. Andrew Cook. I'm a gynecologist and endometriosis specialist. I was actually first introduced to endometriosis in 1983, and I've been out in private practice for about 30 years now, since 1991. And we've certainly seen a lot of changes in endo. And I've been asked to talk a little bit about some of the challenges and pitfalls with endometriosis. And man, we could talk for a long time about this. Certainly, especially back when I started, almost nobody had heard of endometriosis. And the invalidation of women was certainly present back then, and it continues to today, although I think we're making some progress, although we still have ways to go. So one is just what is endo, and exactly how devastating can endometriosis be to a woman's life. And I wrote a piece about what it really means to have endometriosis, which is in the book, a couple different places. I think it's on our website. You're welcome to download it and pass it on to other people. So one is, what does it mean? How devastating is it? And I can't tell you how often I see women a couple days after surgery, and it's like, well, how you doing? And they said, compared to my periods, this is nothing compared to what I've been going through. And so the idea that every month you're going through pain and suffering that is on the level of major surgery is almost inconceivable. And I think that's part of the problem, is people just don't really believe that it can be that bad, and women just put up with it. And in spite of what a lot of people have said, where women don't handle pain, my experience is just the opposite. They handle pain very well. They put their head down, they go about their life, they try to just make things happen. So we're dealing with a condition that's not well understood, not well appreciated, and arguably the medical system is broken, and we have a broken part of a broken system. And so many levels, we need to really change the way that this disease is being handled and being dealt with. And so to start with, listen to the patient. It's very predictive if you take an accurate history if a woman has endometriosis. And then we have diagnostic laparoscopy to look. Now, we need to teach our average physician what are the necessary steps, including near contact laparoscopy, to make an accurate diagnosis, because often from a distance you don't see the endometriosis, so it's underdiagnosed. And then spot treatment or burning or coagulation of endometriosis is archaic. It should be relegated to the history books. It is no longer acceptable that is the approach that's being used. We need to dissect it out. Wide excision should be the standard. It still isn't to that point yet, but as I said many, many years ago, with the advent of the internet, this will be grassroots, ground up, women taking charge and making a difference in the way that endometriosis is diagnosed and treated. So one is, we need to get a standardized treatment or a standardized approach to diagnosis of endometriosis, because if you don't see it, you're not going to remove it. And then there's all kinds of hurdles as far as both non-invasive stage 1 and 2, why is that undertreated, and stage 3 and 4, which arguably is some of the most difficult surgery being done out there, and why is that being undertreated. So those are issues. Insurance coverage is an issue. Believing the patient is an issue. Following up with other co-conditions of endometriosis such as interstitial cystitis, pelvic floor spasm, and the list goes on, and other things that occur in conjunction with endometriosis that all add up to give overall pain and suffering. And so all these need to come about and need to come to the forefront. And there's many others, and really it's an uphill battle. And the kind of things that is being done here is certainly helping to increase the level of treatment of endometriosis, and continue to believe in yourself. If you're suffering from endometriosis, yes, seek out, often you're your own coordinator of healthcare. And that's unfortunate and it's not ideal, but that's just the facts. And so be a smart shopper, be a smart consumer, challenge your physician in a nice way, but in an intellectual discussion as far as what's going on. Because in my experience, women with endometriosis just want to feel better. They want their condition taken care of. They're not seeking other ulterior motives. They just want to feel better. So believe in yourself. There is hope. Let's keep working together. We can make a difference.
Hi, Endo Warriors. My name is Britt. I'm 24 years old from Detroit, Michigan, and I am a healthcare operations manager and a dance and fitness instructor. So I was officially diagnosed with endometriosis when I was 21 via laparoscopic surgery, although I've been dealing with endo symptoms and other related issues for about 15 years now. So it's been a long time because I started my period when I was 9. 9 years old, people. Big fun. Big fun. So like I said, I was officially diagnosed with endo when I was 21 via laparoscopy, and it was a good, bad thing. It was good because it confirmed that I have not been crazy for all these years, but it also was not a good thing because the procedure itself was an ablation surgery, not an excision surgery. At the time, I did not know that there was a difference, and I was not properly educated. I didn't have a choice in the matter. So it was an ablation surgery. It was a lot more challenging than I anticipated, and now, just a couple of years later, my symptoms are really coming back full force, and it's a struggle for me on a daily basis. So what I've been doing is trying to treat as naturally as possible. I was offered the Lupron treatments, but I refused to do those because of the research that I did on their long-term side effects. So I've been doing continuous birth control as well as pelvic floor therapy and making some dietary changes to try and manage it as best as I can. And my goal eventually, when the world gets back to normal a little bit, is to have a proper excision surgery and a hysterectomy. So the challenge with that is that there's not a lot of endo specialists in my area. So I'm kind of playing that waiting game right now, like I said, until COVID is over and I feel safe enough to travel. And also I'd like a hysterectomy, even though it's something I really want. Doctors keep telling me I'm too young, even though I've been dealing with symptoms for 15 years. Nobody believes me and wants to do that for me. So it's been kind of a struggle and a fight to be able to get that done. But my biggest piece of advice for anyone who has endo or thinks that they have endo is to trust yourself. You need to be your own advocate because it's going to be a fight. It's going to be a struggle to have doctors believe you and tell you, when they tell you that you're crazy. But you need to trust yourself because you know your own body and what is best for you. So do your own research, be your own advocate, and seek out resources that are going to be helpful to you. Also, another thing that has helped me a lot is taking care of your mental health, not just your physical health, because there's such a mind-body connection, right? So if your mind is not healthy, if you're overly stressed, if you don't feel like you have the support, your body can be really impacted by that as well. And this is, something that I had to kind of learn on my own. This was not something that was just given to me by a doctor, hey, seek mental help. I, had to seek the support of a therapist and a support group. But once I did that, I found that it helped me a lot. Again, it's not a cure-all, but it definitely helped having the support of other professionals and other endo sisters that have been through the same thing that you've been through. So please seek mental help and take care of yourself. I am sending love and support to all of you endo warriors. We are in this together to help find a cure, raise awareness, and hopefully look forward to a brighter tomorrow. And thank you, endo sisters. Love you all.
Like many of you, I have suffered with very painful and heavy periods since my very first one.
The pain was crucial.
It was really difficult navigating this journey alone.
You know, my mom took me to the doctor multiple times. They just said I had a bad period.
I'm dismissed often when I mention these symptoms to doctors.
I started having symptoms at 16, but those were brushed off.
I started missing days of school.
In my social life, my work life.
Your college, family, relationships, friends, everything, and you're the only one you know dealing with this.
Hi, my name is Daniela, and I am 1 in 10. This is my first time participating with Endo March, and I'm really happy to be here helping raise awareness for our cause. Like many of you, I have suffered with very painful and heavy periods since my very first one. And later on, I developed other symptoms like urinary frequency, frequent UTIs, excruciating bowel movements, lower back pain, leg pain, IBS-like symptoms, and debilitating fatigue. I felt like I could never keep up. And like many of you, I was also dismissed often when I mentioned these symptoms to doctors. It wasn't until I was actually an ultrasound student and the professor was demonstrating on me because I was the only one with the full bladder, of course. And she found a large 6-centimeter cyst on my left ovary. She suggested I follow up with a gynecologist, so I scheduled with one who actually ended up dismissing me once again. He said he wasn't worried about the cyst and sent me on my way. So I forgot about it and just focused on school until I went into my clinicals where I was a student one day with a horrible left-sided pain, and the sonographer who was training me took a look. The cyst was getting bigger. The radiologist suggested I see a gynecologist, so I reluctantly scheduled with another one. He actually scheduled me for surgery that same weekend and ended up taking 3 hours. The cyst turned out to be an endometrioma, and he found endometrial lesions throughout. And I felt much better after the surgery. He put me on birth control, and I had a few good years, for which I was very grateful. But unfortunately, the pain started coming back slowly at first, and then it got to the point where it was on a daily basis. Even walking would cause me to have horrible pain in the middle of the night, and it affected everything: my social life, my work life, my sleep. And I found another gynecologist, and I had my second surgery about 1.5 years ago. And he found extensive endo behind my uterus, on my ureters, which ureter endometriosis is only about 1% of cases. I felt so much better after that surgery as well, but unfortunately the pain has started coming back. So that is why I wanted to speak, to share my story with you guys today, because this story is all too common and there's no reason for it. If we had more money for research, more attention to women's health, I know our scientists could find a cause and eventually a treatment even a cure maybe. And that is what I wish for all of us, the huge population of women that suffer with endometriosis. And thank you for listening to my story.
Hi guys, my name's Raquel and I'm 24 years old. I've had endometriosis since I was 19. I started having symptoms at 16, but those were brushed off until I begged my doctor 3 years later to go in and see what was going on. Over the last 5 years, nothing has improved at all. Every single one of my symptoms have worsened. So at the beginning of last year, I decided it was finally time to look at my options and dig a little deeper beyond what I was told, besides getting pregnant or staying on even more hormones than I have been since 16 years old in order to cure me. It was really difficult navigating this journey alone, going through college, family, relationships, friends, everything, and you're the only one you know dealing with this. I was able to go online and research for months. It took so much time, but I finally found an answer, and I found a surgeon in Atlanta, Dr. Kenson Nervo, at the Center for Endometriosis Care. And it took us a very long time to be able to see him, but it was so worth it because now I'm 3 months post-op with one of the best trained excision specialists in the country. And my life is improving day by day. But it's still really hard because so many people don't even know what excision surgery is. And even if some people get it, sometimes their symptoms come back. So there's a lot of unknowns with this disease. And what I want is for more awareness so that doctors are more aware that their ablation surgeries or their hormones or pregnancy, God knows why, like that stuff does not work, and that you need a greater skill set. So my goal with this EndoMarch is to provide awareness even to these doctors, nurses, schools, education system, that there needs to be more research done on this, and we need more trained doctors in this field so that people don't have to get more than 1 or 2 surgeries in their lifetime. I'm lucky enough to only have 2, but so many people have had 5 to 10 or more, and this is just wearing on our bodies, and we need help. It's 10% of women that have this. Why is this not treated like diabetes, which is also most likely 1 in 10 statistic? The need for greater skill set is so important so that more people can have access to doctors like I have. And I'm very fortunate, but this is a healing process and there's going to be a lot of work associated with it. So I just want all my fellow endometriosis sufferers to understand that you are not alone. And I know it's easy to say that, but help is out there. We just have to fight for it.
Hi everyone, my name's Jamie. I'm 32 years old. I'm about to be 33 in a few weeks. I was diagnosed with endometriosis at age 17. So I've been battling this horrible disease for the last almost 16 years. I started my period at age 12, and I really don't know exactly how it was in the beginning, but I do know it wasn't as bad as it started being. I started missing days of school because it was so bad. I was on my knees and I was bending over and I was throwing up every single time I started my period. I threw up the first and second day. So I was very nauseous and very sick, and I could not move hardly at all. The pain was crucial. My mom took me to the doctor multiple times. They just said I had a bad period and I have bad cramps and to take ibuprofen 800. So I took everything I could. Fast forward, I have my doctor that I found, I believe, like just as a referral, and he knew exactly what I needed and what I had, but he had to diagnose me by a surgery. So I had my first surgery at 17, got diagnosed with endometriosis stage 3. If anybody knows, endometriosis has 4 stages, and I was stage 3, so I was almost really bad. And then, basically I went on not thinking I could have kids, and I was blessed with a baby girl in 2009. And I also went on to have another surgery in 2015 because after having a baby, a few years in, the pain I had, it just got worse. So I ended up having surgery again in 2015. And then after that, I had I had my little one, which is now 4 years old. And then I had a surrogate baby. And then I started my cycle again, and it got really bad again. And then now I have my 5-month-old, so I had another baby. So miracles can happen with people with endometriosis. The pain is still crucial, but I know for a fact that, you know, I'm healthy and I'm well, especially when I'm pregnant. Unfortunately, I am the healthiest, my doctor says. So other than that, I really hope that, you know, this month, March, making it the awareness month, can help women like me and help women know that you can do whatever you put your mind on. My mental health has been struggling. You know, I do have anxiety and depression and many things like that, but I really hope that at the end of the day, I just have people that care about me and love me the most. And I thank someone, you know, for watching this video, and I hope that you guys have a great day. Bye.
Hello, I'm the founder of Las Vegas Endo March, Las Vegas Endometriosis and Adenomyosis Group, as well as Project Uterus. My story began when I was 13. I was always experiencing a lot of abdominal pain and cramps even well before my period. When I started my period, shortly after, I was rushed to the emergency room where a physician informed me about endometriosis, and she believed that I have it. But of course, I needed to get confirmation from a gynecologist that by surgery that I actually have the disease. Within the month, I had surgery and I was diagnosed with endometriosis. By this time, I was 15. Shortly after, I was put on Lupron, and everything went downhill from there. From 15 to age 32, I had 15 surgeries, 14 of them being ablation and 1 being excision surgery. I was always told that everything was in my head, that I had a lot of anxiety, I was neurotic, and that they just wanted to throw depression medication at me. Finally, it got to the point where a specific physician understood my pain and knew surgery after surgery after surgery that it was not in my head, and he believed me, and he knew every time I called his office it was because I knew my body. I listened to my body. So when I was actually 32, I decided to fly to Washington to have excision surgery. At that time, I had a hysterectomy due to being diagnosed with adenomyosis, and it's been 4 years since my excision surgery and hysterectomy. I feel about 90% better. I kept my ovaries, so I'm in a little pain still with cysts growing monthly. But like other women, this whole journey of having endometriosis, I lost friends, I've lost relationships, I've lost jobs, I had to quit school numerous times. I was able to carry 2 beautiful daughters. It was a struggle, but I was able to successfully deliver 2 little girls, and it was a lot. I was told at a young age, right after Lupron, that I would not be able to carry kids, let alone even have them to have them healthy. It's been a lot. It's been a lot that I had to do my own research on, since I didn't have any friends. No family member had endo. No one knew what it was. They always dismissed my pain, always said that cramps are painful and that is normal. And just listening to my own body, I knew something was wrong, and I'm very grateful that I was able to leave the state, since Nevada is not really known for good health care. But it's been a journey, and It's one that I just definitely want to help other women understand that your pain is real, your pain is valid, and please get the necessary help that you deserve. Do not turn out like me 15 surgeries later. No one deserves that. I understand maybe one or two, one to get diagnosed and your second one being an excision if you can afford that, but just know your pain is valid and you're not crazy. It's not in your head. Thank you.
Greetings to all the worldwide EndoMarch participants on a virtual meeting of 2021. I am Dr. Sina Nejad from Atlanta, Georgia, and a co-founder of the EndoMarch Awareness. In 2011, in March 2011, we conducted the World Symposium on Endometriosis in Atlanta with the enormous support of Northside Hospital leadership, with participants of more than 600 from around the world. We had more than 50 faculty, scientists sharing their vision and experience about how to increase awareness. In that meeting, there was a call to action on early detection of endometriosis. In 2013, March, in Washington, DC, we performed the first worldwide EndoMarch with many participants calling to action on early detection and giving recognition to endometriosis, same as diabetes and hypertension. Since 2013, there has been enormous effort from all the volunteers to increase awareness globally, and subsequently, there is more and more attention to this enigmatic disease. This year, virtual EndoMarch would be conducted, and I'd like to welcome everybody to participate, and I'd like to thank all the volunteers to help carrying this mission forward. So long.
Hello, I'm Dr. Kamran Nejad, the founder of the Worldwide EndoMarch and the Worldwide Endometriosis Day. I would like to take a moment and thank you very much, especially those of you who have donated to the Worldwide EndoMarch. Worldwide EndoMarch is a philanthropic 501c3 organization. It's completely charitable. All of your contributions are tax deductible. And without your efforts and without your contributions, we would not have been able to continue to do for the past 7 to 8 years what Worldwide EndoMarch has been doing for patients globally. We thank you, and if you would like to continue to support the efforts of Worldwide EndoMarch and donate to it, please go ahead to Worldwide EndoMarch website and push the donate button. Thank you again for your contribution.